Hey guys, it's David from New York. I'm glad I just got your videos and I wanted to answer those questions. So the first question was, did I expect for the outcome to be so close? The race to be so close and the outcome to come out the way that it did. And I didn't expect the race to be so close, to be honest. Donald Trump had a very good lead. What I was more concerned about, and what a lot of the nation is concerned about right now, is the way that they are doing the voting and counting the mail-in ballots, because this is the first election where a majority of the Americans actually voted by mail. So what Donald Trump is saying, that there is a lot of voter fraud and all of the mail-in ballots were basically, illegal. So what we were looking at is he's trying to prove that the mail-in ballots that came in, for instance, that were postmarked on election day, some of them even came in after election day, that they would be counted correctly and that there wouldn't be any fraudulent balances. And yes, I do believe a lot of Europe is going more right-wing. I was actually in London in 2017, and the Conservative Party there in London was about 30% of the vote. So you can see over the years that gradually it's getting larger. I believe that the reason why Joe Biden is more popular among Europeans is because he's embracing a lot of the socialistic ideas like free healthcare and free college, and a lot of that is popular with Europeans. But of course, there is a grassroots movement that I believe is happening in Europe where people are wanting more independent, they're wanting more choice, they're wanting to be able to basically keep more of their paycheck instead of it going to the government so that they can buy, their own private health insurance or be able to do things such as Americans do or other countries that have the free enterprise. So the reason why the Electoral College is important, although it is debated, is because basically there are two really big cities in America, and that's New York and California. Their population is the highest in the states. So the reason why the Electoral College is there is because highly dense populated areas get more electoral votes. And ultimately, the United States were supposed to be where the power would go to the state and not necessarily the federal government. So every 10 years, they do a census where they can determine how many congressional seats go to basically speak for the people. But every 10 years, they also do the census to find out how many electoral votes a state gets. For instance, I lived in New Mexico for a while, which is a state, and they have lower electoral votes than states like California and New York. Same thing, the least dense populated state in America is Wyoming, and it only has like 3 electoral votes. So the reason why this is to determine that the states are the ones who basically elect the electors, and then the electors elect the president. The reason why they do it this way is because everyone would get a fair vote. Because if the Electoral College was not stated, basically California and New York would determine the outcome of every election because they have the highest population and they are leaning mostly towards Democrats. Where a lot of swing states like Florida change election after election because of the influx of people who move there. And the same thing happens with, there were a lot of states in the early days of the Union that voted highly Democratic, like in the South. And over time, they have become Republican strongholds. So they're the ones that the Republicans rely on a lot. And that's why with this election, why Donald Trump is trying to overturn votes in like Georgia. Georgia hasn't voted for a Democratic president since '92. So they were very optimistically cautious about why so many votes were going towards the Democratic side. A lot of what they're saying is it could have been voter error or computer error. So they did the recount, which was over yesterday, and they just certified it. So, Joe Biden still won Georgia, but there are other states that are being contested because of the amount of Republican lenience that they've had over the last few years. So I believe in the Electoral College. I believe that if Washington, D.C. ever becomes a state or Puerto Rico ever becomes a state, it would be a time where they would add more electoral votes to the map. And it basically gives everybody an equal right, and your vote still does count. So ultimately, the person who wins the state wins the electoral vote, so it's not divided. So I was a Republican my whole life. At around 8 years old, when I really started to learn what was going on, I decided to be a Republican. But mainly the way we grew up, it was in the country. We shot guns. We were able to go hunting, and we were able to do things that, you know, the Second Amendment and other freedoms were able to provide us. I do hear a lot of times that there are more liberals that turn to the right after they find out, what they want to stand for. A lot of it is moral objection. Now, as an adult, there are things that I agree on that are in line with the Republican Party. Like, I don't believe in abortion. I believe in low government. There's a huge debate here in America as far as, like, we have this holiday Thanksgiving, and some governors are trying to say you can't have more than 10 people. And then we're looking at the Constitution saying that, the government basically can't meddle in our households. They need warrants and stuff before they can even search the house. So there are actually some states like Oregon that are making it illegal, and they're going to charge like $1,250 if you have more than 10 people in your house. And there are a lot of sheriffs that are not enforcing that. But anyways, I do believe that someone can make a choice as an adult. A lot of times it has to do with the way you're raised. But yeah, I was raised a Republican, and I'm definitely proud of it. And yes, on that last question, I did hear a few years back that Donald Trump was trying to buy Greenland or that territory. And the thing is the US bought Alaska from Russia, and it became a state. So it's very popular, and it's been done before. And I was just watching a documentary last night about this place called Point Roberts, and it's a Washington city that's basically eclipsed between where you cannot get to it except through Canada. So Canada was trying to buy it from the US in the same way that the US bought Alaska from Russia. So yeah, I really believe that if it ever were to happen, it would definitely become a state, and it would have statehood. And then of course the Electoral College would get involved, and they would count how many electoral votes they would have. But it's definitely an interesting thing, and the way we look at the United States is we're always growing and we're improving, but we never shy away from our Constitution. So I hope all of your questions were answered, and I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the day.